So sine, cosine, and tangent, those are the three trig functions you need to know. Sine is the opposite over hypotenuse, cosine adjacent over hypotenuse, tangent opposite over adjacent, okay? So it is based on the angle that it is talking about specifically. This is angle X, so it wants you to look at angle X and give the tangent. So you need to label the opposite and adjacent angle for tangent for this X. So opposite is the one that is across from that angle. Adjacent is the one that is part of the angle, not including the hypotenuse. So hypotenuse is always opposite of your right angle. And so when it asks for the exact trig function, it is saying the tangent of X is going to be a fraction. Opposite, which is 48, over adjacent, which is 14. And then you do want to reduce it. So you can see that 2 goes into both of those. And so you're going to get 24 over 7. And you will leave your answer just like that. So page 2 is not exact value. Exact value would be a fraction. Page 2 wants you to round it to the nearest 10,000ths. So you're still actually finding the ratio given an angle. But in this case, they want you to use your calculator. And so when you are finding a trig function, you are going to use your basic trig, not your inverse trigs. And you're literally going to do sine of 80. You do want to make sure that you are in degrees, not radians. So you want to check that on your calculator to the nearest 10,000. So some of you still have some rounding problems. So 10,000 is 4 decimal places. In this case, 5 decimal places looks like this. They want to round to this, so you're going to look to the one next to it. If it is less than 4, leave it alone. If it is 5 or above, go up. 0 is obviously less than 5. 0 is 4 or less. So we're going to say 9848 is my answer here. 4 decimal places. So starting with number 11 to 16, you're still using SOHCAHTOA, but you're finding a side length. You are still going to label it based on the angle that you have. So I have this angle 32. I have opposite and adjacent to that angle, so I am going to use tangent. The tangent of 32 should equal my opposite side over my adjacent side. Remember, when what you're solving for is on bottom, you would divide. So instead of 14 times 32, if that x had been on top, we're going to say 14 divided by the tangent of 32. You are going to round here to the nearest tenth. So once again, if you were to say 14 times, make sure you are in degrees, tangent of 32, you're going to get 22.4. 22.4 when you round it. And so you're just going to leave it just like that. So for all of page 3, you're going to be using your inverse functions. All right? This first one says the tangent of y equals 0.8693. So they've actually given you the ratio, and now they want the angle. So we're going to use our inverse trig function on our calculator and just plug it in like we used our regular for finding the trig. So second tangent, and then you're going to make sure put your decimal there, 0.8693. You're going to get 41 degrees. It says to the nearest degree, so you're going to round to the whole number there. Round to the whole number there for the nearest degree. This next section is identical, but you have to figure out which trig function you are using. All right, so again, you're going to have to label this angle like we already did on the other ones. Opposite and then adjacent. So we are using tangent again. The tangent of whatever angle we're talking about should equal opposite over adjacent. So when you are solving for an angle in your calculator, you're going to use your inverse and do your division there. And this also wants it to the nearest degree. When you put this in your calculator, you're going to get 41.63, and it's going to keep going. To the nearest degree, means they want it to the whole number. So we're going to look across. It is a 6, which means we're going to go up. 42 degrees would be my answer here. 42 degrees would be my answer. These word problems are right angles. You should draw something that looks like a right triangle like you've been doing and solve for either the side or the angle. A man is standing on the ground at a point 47 feet away from the base of a building. And so that's telling you your bottom side length, basically. So you're saying he's 47 feet away from the base of the building. The angle of elevation to the top of the building is 71 degrees. And so that's obviously not 71 degrees, but we're going to just pretend it is. All right. So this angle of elevation is 71 degrees. They want to know how high the building is. So that is going to be the height of this triangle. And you are going to do exactly what you've done on all the others. Based on this angle, you're going to solve for the side just like we did before. All right, just like we did before. And so for your word problems like this, you are just drawing a right triangle, and they will look very much like either 11 through 16 or 21 through 26, depending on if you are solving for the angle or the side. They will be set up identical to those. These type of word problems will. So we've known the formula for this for a while. It is 1/2 apothem times perimeter, all right? The difference here is we are now going to find our apothem with trig. And remember, it is 1/2 your side length divided by the tangent of 1/2 an interior angle, okay? So how do we find the interior angle? We take 360 and divide it by the number of sides. That's an interior angle. And then we need to cut it in half, all right? So for this one, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 sides, all right? So we are going to take 360 and divide it by 8. What do we get? So we get 45 degrees. And then we divide that in half. So 22.5 is the angle we're going to use, all right? 22.5. 1/2 apothem times perimeter. 1/2. My apothem is going to be half of my side length. My side length is 7. So 3.5 divided by the tangent of 22.5. That is my apothem. Perimeter. Perimeter is my side length times the number of sides. 7 times 8. 7 is my side length. I have 8 sides. And so that is going to give me the area of this particular figure, which when you do it all into your calculator, it wants you to round to the nearest tenth, which is 236.6 square centimeters. Okay, so the difference here is I didn't give you the apothem, or you don't have to use special right triangles to do it, okay? You're going to say half my side length divided by the tangent of half of an interior angle. That is my apothem. And then it's just 1/2 apothem times perimeter, all right? So we're just using trig to find it. But you don't have to set up the triangle every time. If you remember, it's half the side length divided by the tangent of half the angle, all right? We solve for triangles area, other than, of course, 1/2 base times height, using trig is side angle side, which means you have 2 sides here and the angle in between them. And so if you have that type of setup for a triangle, then you are going to use 1/2 your 2 side lengths and then the sine of the angle that you have. And it's just a matter of knowing that formula and plugging it in. So the area of this triangle is going to be 1/2 your 2 side lengths times the sine of your interior angle between those two, okay? So in this case, you're just going to say 1/2 8 times 5 times the sine of 150 degrees. All right. And this wants you to round to the nearest tenth. So when you plug this in, you actually get, when you round it, it's going to be 10 because you're going to round to a whole because of the way it works out. So when you do this, you get 10 even. If you had a decimal place, you would actually want to round to 1 decimal place. This one just happened to round to whole. This just happened to be a whole number when you put it in. Okay. So for this one, you have to find the perimeter, cut it in half, and then multiply it times the difference. So Heron's formula for area is the square root of S, and then that times the difference between all of your sides. And remember, S is 1/2 your perimeter. All right. So the first thing you want to do is find S for this one. That's much better. All right, so you want to find your perimeter and cut it in half, which in this case you get 11.95. Don't round it here, by the way. Then you're going to take that and plug it in. So this is your S, and then you're just going to plug it in. You're going to say the square root of 11.95 times 11.95 minus your 10.9, 11.95 minus your 9, and 11.95 minus your 4. All right. And when you put it all in, that you're going to round to 1 decimal place of 17.2 square feet. So at this point, you want to round after you plug it in. Don't round your 11.95 or you're going to be further off. All right. For vectors, it says find the following information: component form, magnitude, and direction. Remember when they give you the starting ending of a vector, you just have to subtract to get your component form. So component form is just going to be your ending X minus your beginning X, your ending Y minus your beginning Y. So for this one, I would say the component form of this, ending X is 8, beginning X is -2. Ending Y is 5, beginning Y is 9. So 8 minus a -2, you're going to get a component form of 10, it's +2. 5 minus 9 is -4. So that is my component form. From that, I'm going to use that component form to find magnitude. Magnitude is going to be the square root of that X that I ended up with of the vector and my Y that I ended up with of the vector. So I'm going to square those, add them, and take the square root. And this wants you to round to, we'll just round to 1 decimal place for the magnitude as well. So for the magnitude of this one, I'm going to say the square root of that 10 squared plus that -4 squared. And I'm going to get approximately 10.8 there. 10.8. And then direction. Direction's finding the angle. All right. So I'm going to say the tangent inverse, remember I'm finding angle, of my Y divided by my X. All right. And you can leave your negatives off. Negatives are going to give you a strange angle reading because we haven't learned those yet. So leave your degrees, leave your negatives off. Just use absolute value here. All right. When you do this, you will get 21 degrees. 21.8, but you can round it to 22 degrees. All right, 22 degrees. So, but then you need to tell me where it is. So you go back up to this component form and figure out what quadrant you're in. Positive X and negative Y. So we have a positive X and negative Y, which means I'm down here, right? Positive X, negative Y. So you're going to say 22 degrees below the positive X axis. And I think your answer key is in like large degrees, so I can tell you what those answers are. The last group is done almost identical, but they've given you 2 vectors and they want you to combine the 2 first. So they have given you this process right here. You are literally just going to plug it in. 8 times the F vector to -11 plus 6 times the g vector, 5, negative 7. You're going to multiply and add those. Then you're going to get component form, just like we did up top, component form. So you're literally going to distribute and add, and you're going to get component form. All right? Magnitude is the same exact thing as right above it. Square root of your x squared plus your y squared. Direction is the same thing as the group above it. Inverse tangent of y divided by x. Okay? So these two, while they're worded different, you actually do them very much the same after that first step. When they've given you the starting and ending value, you just subtract to get your component form. When they give you two different vectors with an equation, just do the equation. Distribute those numbers through, add or subtract, and then you're going to be right at your component form, and everything else is done exactly the same. All right? There is a relationship in a non-right triangle here. The sine of one angle and the side opposite creates a ratio between all three of the angles. And you can flip them as well depending on what you're solving for. So like for this one, they want us to find angle B. Angle B is what is in question here. We have angle C. So we're going to say the sine of angle C, which is 88 degrees, over the side opposite of C, which is 22, should equal the sine of angle B, which we do not know, over the side opposite of angle B, which is 20. And then we're just going to solve, right? Solve by multiplying by that bottom piece there. So in your calculators, we are solving for an angle. Anytime you're solving for an angle, which type of function do you use? The inverse. So in your calculator, you're going to say inverse sine and put all of this in there.